safety, the safety of the public, right? You know, these are always, you know, the incremental steps of tyranny. And when you introduce new technology, there's always a double-edged sword. Drones are awesome for, you know, for average people to go and use for photography, for recreation. But then when you get them into the hands of the authorities, they're going to find a way to weaponize these things. And of course, the police in Connecticut are essentially lobbying to have these drones weaponized. What are your thoughts? Leave your comments below. Subscribe for updates if you like what we're doing. Give us a thumbs up and share this report. For the Next News Network, I'm Gary Franchi.
Alrighty, I am now caught up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you guys going on a playlist so me and Jen can lay down, watch a movie, or try. And I will be up tomorrow. Might even be on sooner than usual. I don't know. I'm gonna try and get another, you know, the background that I use, because this one, I don't care for this one. It looks kind of cheesy. I like the old one better, but I'm working on a couple ideas in my head of some good ones. I can normally do really cool Photoshop work. This one just didn't turn out like I wanted it to, and I'm kind of picky about this stuff. But I wanted something new. I wanted something fresh. And I'm gonna do it again. I've got a couple ideas, so we'll see how that goes. And I'll be working on that tomorrow before I come on live. So, alrighty, folks. Let me get this playlist up for you. By the way, this is not anyone I've played before or anything like that. I just found this playlist, and somebody new, because I know the same people get boring after a while, but this is going to be a playlist on bushcraft, which is a very important skill. So I know it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but it's important. Actually, I do believe this, I don't know if this is all him or not, but I didn't even realize that it was his channel. Storm Clouds Gathering is who's got this playlist. I don't know if they're all him or what the deal is, but all right. Well, you guys have a good one. Good night, and we love you all. Like I always say, be one with your spirit. Go in peace and be with love. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hey guys, I've seen a lot of people making videos about making fire without matches, but most of them involve using ferrocerium rods, which are these special metal rods that you use to make sparks. And the biggest question I always bring up when I talk to people about it is, why would you use something like that rather than a lighter? I mean, you're using a modern material that you couldn't reproduce out in the woods anyway. So you might as well just use a regular lighter if you're at that point. Now, there's a lot of situations you might end up in where you lose your ferrocerium rod, or any number of things happen. You use it up, or someone steals it, or you just happen to not have it the day you...
Hey YouTubes, Point Shooter here. Today I'm doing a video about...
Hey guys, I've seen a lot of people making videos about making fire without matches, but most of them involve using ferrocerium rods, which are these special metal rods that you use to make sparks. And the biggest question I always bring up when I talk to people about it is, why would you use something like that rather than a lighter? I mean, you're using a modern material that you couldn't reproduce out in the woods anyway. So you might as well just use a regular lighter if you're at that point. Now, there's a lot of situations you might end up in where you lose your ferrocerium rod, or any number of things happen. You use it up, or someone steals it, or you just happen to not have it the day you need it. I'm going to show you guys how to make fire with shoestring and a knife. In this case, I'm actually using 550 paracord. It's essentially the same thing as a shoestring if you look at my shoes. I've done it with shoestring before, but I don't want to ruin my shoes. But chances are, if you're out in the woods or something, you're going to have shoestrings.
This is fantastic news.
And I actually, on my knife,
Of course
I keep
applaud it.
550 paracord wrapped around the handle just in case. And this knife right here, it has a special
What could be wrong with
container,
this?
so I can
Yes,
actually put
really.
Somebody living
550
on
paracord in there. A big knife like this is always handy for
Celebrate
$1
chopping.
a day in Africa is
splitting
getting
wood
up
and
in the
things like
morning
that. And I
and
actually
saying,
did
I'm
use
going to
that
be Bill
for-
Gates.
That's the
For this.
motivation
Only
everybody
thing
needs.
between me and
I'm
that
not
guy
against
is
charity.
motivation. I just need to pull up my socks.
I am
Oh,
not-
wait, I don't
Smaller
have
knife like
socks.
this.
Look, don't tell
Small
me
knife
you
is
want to
always useful
redistribute wealth
so that you
again.
can
That's never
actually
going to
carry
happen.
You know what? You take a simple
this
stat
is
like
big.
this, which is neither good nor
So
bad.
that's
It's
not
just a fact.
It's a celebratory stat. I'm
I'm
very
not going
excited
to bore you guys with a lot of the details of how you make these
about it. I'm wonderful to
materials,
see it
but I'm
happen.
going to show you what
I
you
tell
have to make.
kids every day,
Just-
if you,
I'm just gonna,
what's
And
wrong with
comes
this?
up at a
The
cocktail
essential
party.
elements
No,
are
Amanda,
One
what's wrong with this
one
statement?
possible response
If
to
you
it.
Because what we're
work
doing is a
hard,
bow
you
drill
might
fire.
be stinking
We're
We're
rich one
talking
day.
about
bow
people in extreme
with the cord
abject
attached to
poverty.
it.
That's how you get 3.5
No, we're not.
billion
We're just
in
talking
this
about
surprise you as
category.
you're working with this is that the bow shouldn't be very, very tight. In order to work correctly,
We are
it needs
anonymous,
to be a little
and
bit
we
loose,
have a solution.
and you have to kind of figure out the correct tension.
We represent 99% of the Earth's human population. When the actual number of the other 1% is considered, those who we do not represent, but who control almost every aspect of our lives, their number is more than 70 million. We represent every other human upon Earth.
To make the fire itself.
We,
There's two ends that
despite
you need to
being
keep
the
those separate.
overwhelming majority,
Sharpen
have
it.
no power over our own
On one
lives.
end, you
We
wipe
do
this
not
part.
have equality in life.
You
We do
can
not
in
have
places,
equal liberty.
like usually around
We do
the
not have
nose,
equal
there's a lot of
means
oil
and
there.
opportunities afforded to us to
But
pursue
you
our
don't do it on the
individual
burning end.
happiness.
You do it on the
We are not socialist or
But I
capitalists,
mean in a second.
yet we
The reason you
support
do
the
that
right
is
of every
this end right
human
here,
who has been born
you
on
want it
this
to stay
earth
lubricated. You don't
by
want to
no
start a fire
choice of
here,
their own
'cause it's right
to
up
have
next
their
to
basic
where you actually
necessities provided
push
free
it
of
down.
charge throughout their life.
This
We
wood
are
right
not
here,
religious, yet we
it's
support the
best
right
if
to
it's a
believe,
dry,
as long as the
light
belief
wood.
of one does not negatively
This case is
affect the
pine.
belief of another.
There's a lot
We
of
are
pine wire.
not rich,
And
yet we support the right
the
to
third
pursue
item
wealth,
is
as
the,
long as the
burning
pursuit
board.
of economic
I don't know if that's
security
a technical
is
term
afforded
for it.
equally to
That's what I'm
all,
calling it.
regardless of class,
This one I've already
opportunity,
used,
or
and
natural
I'm just gonna use
selection,
it to
where the
demonstrate
strongest survive. We are
sometimes
the
you'll
weak.
end up going through
We
a
are the
number of pieces of
downtrodden.
wood
We
before you
are the
find a
meek of
good
the
piece
earth.
wood that'll actually work.
We do not feel that we have a voice in our government,
The actual burning
not
board
because we do not
best if
choose to
it's
voice
not a
our
hardwood.
desires,
Doing
but
it with
because
oak
our government
can be
only
very, very
offers us
difficult. Woods
choices
that I find work well are pine and cedar, poplar.
that it has appointed for us.
Anything that's not really,
Our
really
choice
much
for
wood,
government officials has always been
because you
from the
want this part
pool
to
of
be
the
able to
1%.
burn up and actually
America's two-party political system has corrupted democracy and limited our ability to choose candidates who
the fourth
actually represent our needs and wants.
is the hand board.
We
This is where you
want
actually
change,
hold your hand
real
and push
change.
down on the,
For hundreds of years, we've heard the
rod
same
right there.
political rhetoric during every
this one,
campaign.
it's best if it's a harder
We
wood.
are now more
Get it,
educated
get it,
and
get it,
informed than at any other
get it,
time in
find it.
Earth's
This
history.
case I found an old piece
We
of
know
oak.
what we want.
And the reason I choose
We
something like that is
want
because I don't
our
really want to
voices
start a
to
fire
be
with
heard.
this piece is up
We
against my
want
hand
the
like this.
majority to
And,
rule and have
you will
power
find
in
out real
government,
quickly if you
as a
put
true democracy
if
demands.
it's a raw piece of wood,
Real
like to start a fire on
change
both
can
ends,
only be
and
accomplished
you're hurting up here.
if the majority
Next, burn
creates
yourself.
and offers its own
Usually you
solutions.
yourself and then
Solutions
you
that
know,
perhaps the 1%
anything like
status
that, but,
quo has never heard
and the
or
last
considered.
you
In the
need to have
past,
a nest of some
Our
form
complaints, our protests, our movements, our demand for change have been without viable solutions.
and I
They have
rolled
produced
up back
nothing
and
but
forth in my
fear,
hand,
division, hate,
until
and more
it
prejudice.
became
The more we
fibrous like
push
this.
against them,
And, you can use a number of different substances. You can use
the
cotton.
more they push against
usually,
us.
In most places, there's something that you can find.
What we desire cannot be accomplished by one person.
broken
it
down
cannot be
into
done
a
by
light fiber. Cedar or juniper.
Protest, nor movement, nor organization. It must be done by using and complying with what has been established among us, the law of the land,
materials, and
and democracy, the voice of the majority. We must be unified. We must remain undivided. We must remain equal. We must have courage. And to protect each of us as we stand against the power of the 1%, we must remain anonymous. We have established a new political party called the Humanity Party. Our party's platform offers the solutions to our current problems, beginning with the introduction of a new constitution. Governments operate from constitutions. A constitution is a body of fundamental principles and established standards according to which a united group of people is to be governed. But the people, as a majority, must agree on the principles and standards by which they are governed. 200 years passed in American history before a group of people first met together and considered writing a different constitution for and by the people. In 1787, a convention convened to write a constitution, not by the will and for the sake of the 99%, but by the will and for the sake of the 1%. By 1987, the world had changed drastically. Politicians, lawyers, and judges had interpreted the original Constitution and established laws that supported the desires and needs of the 1%, disenfranchising the majority. For example, a law was established that gave a money entity, a corporation, many of the same rights afforded to a person. This was an act that benefited the 1% and negatively affected the majority. This act was, however, legal and lawful because the original Constitution gave this legislative power and authority to Congress, lawyers, and judges. The original Constitution provided the legal authority to establish inhumane laws. Because representatives of the 1% were those who wrote the original Constitution, it contained many inhumane laws that eventually needed to be overturned by amendment. Amendments can alter a constitution. But if the Constitution in and of itself is a flawed tapestry from the beginning, then any alteration will only weaken the original strength of the cloth from which it was made. The Constitution must be completely revised and rewritten to reflect the true purpose for which it exists, to provide a body of fundamental and established standards according to the needs and wants of the majority of people. The current Constitution states, Article 5, Amendment, quote, "The Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution, or, on the application of the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states, shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which, in either case, shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of this Constitution, when ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states, or by conventions in 3/4 thereof, as the one or the other mode of ratification may be proposed by the Congress," unquote. Again, the original cloth by which the tapestry that makes up the current Constitution was flawed. One of these glaring flaws is the ill-proportional representation of the people and the power that just one state might possess in governing the majority, even though that one state might have very few people living in it. An example of one of these many flaws is that the current state of California, which did not nor was ever accounted for in the current original Constitution, has almost 40 million people, but only 2 senators who represent their interests. The people of California might hold more liberal beliefs, desires, needs, and wants than 13 other Western states. But the population of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, South Dakota, and North Dakota together do not equal as many people as those who live in California. Yet these 13 conservative states have 26 senators. The will of California's 2 liberal senators who represent the majority will never pass a law to which the more conservative 26 senators who represent the minority do not agree. The United States has never been united. Every social conflict that America has ever experienced began because one state disagreed with another. The Civil War, in which more Americans died than in all other wars combined, was caused by arguments between states. State representatives are the cause of bipartisan gridlock in Congress. States have caused and will continue to cause many social problems and conflicts unless they are stripped of their power and authority. The American people must become, finally, one nation, indivisible. This cannot be done unless the new Constitution is adopted and ratified and becomes the law of the land. A Constitution that was written in 1787 can hardly represent the interests of people living 200 years in the future. There was one of the founding fathers of America's first Constitution, Thomas Jefferson, who wrote, quote, "Every constitution, then, and every law naturally expires at the end of 19 years. If it be enforced longer, it is an act of force and not of right. It may be said that the succeeding generation exercising, in fact, the power of repeal, that this leaves them as free as if the Constitution or law had been expressly limited to 19 years only. In the first place, this objection admits the right in proposing an equivalent. The power of repeal is not an equivalent. It might be, indeed, if every form of government were so perfectly contrived that the will of the majority could always be obtained fairly and without impediment. But this is true of no form. The people cannot assemble themselves. Their representation is unequal and vicious. Various checks are opposed to every legislative proposition. Factions get possession of the public councils, bribery corrupts them, personal interests lead them astray from the general interest of their constituents, and other impediments arise so as to prove to every practical man that a law of limited duration is much more manageable than one which needs a repeal." Unquote. We have written a new Constitution for the people and by the people. It is based on the old one and incorporates those parts that have worked for the majority of the people. The changes will disempower the current representatives in government in their ability to make laws that do not benefit all people. The new Constitution will provide the people's representatives with a blueprint from which new laws can be established that represent the real needs and wants of the majority. States will no longer have power to cause the problems and divisions that they have caused in the past. We, the people of America, will finally be united as one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Change must come to our world, or human society will continue to slide down a slippery slope of inequality, hopelessness, and violence. Lasting change cannot happen through violence, insurrection, or revolution. Where the sword is used to establish change, it is by the same sword that it is enforced and can be overthrown. Change must come through peace, patience, and applying humane principles of common sense, respectful of all people. Then, through these same means, change can be enforced, and if necessary, it can be overthrown, but by the same means by which it was established: peace, patience, and applying common sense. Anger and bloodshed have only led to more anger and bloodshed. Protests are the physical imposition of one's personal space onto another's. Peace demands that each person's space, no matter what it contains or where it is occupied, be respected by law. Protests at a location where another person is encroached upon does not accomplish its purpose and becomes counterproductive when the protest is being staged demanding equal rights for all. A new process of demanding change is necessary and required. This process must be one that has no violence, no anger, no disrespect or disparagement of another space. America is one of the most respected nations on earth. From its establishment and copying its original constitution, other nations have formed peaceful and productive societies. America provides the fertile ground of human diversity, where the seed of real change can be planted, and from which a tree of unprecedented humanity can grow. We realize that as the tree grows, it will produce branches that will bear fruit, some good and some bad. But if the root of the tree is spawned from a sea of goodness, from our true humanity, as the good fruit becomes more abundant, the bad fruit can then be removed and discarded. We must have patience and fertilize the tree with intelligence, courage, and undaunted resolve. The tree is the people of the earth and their chosen associations and families, communities, cities, and nations. The seed from which the root grows is our shared humanity, all that is good about being human. The Humanity Party will provide the fertilizer. The new Constitution will provide the power and instruction to those who nurture, prune, and watch over the tree, who remove the bad fruit as the good fruit grows. But people are not comfortable with change. Security lies in schedules and expected functions that always produce the same end. People are comfortable with having an election every 4 years and listening to the popular candidates promise the same things that they did 4 years prior. People become very leery of something that seems too good to be true, and they naturally, emotionally, fight any change that they imagine might affect their current state of security. The United States of America appears to be a peaceful and generally a law-abiding group of people, but that depends on which group of people you ask. There are over 300 million people in the United States. Of that number, there are more than 250 million who are of voting age. Of that number, about 50% actually vote. Many vote because they feel a sense of personal involvement and empowerment in casting their vote, believing that their one vote can make a difference. But an honest poll of those who do vote would reveal that a great majority of them choose the lesser of two evils. Or rather, they don't want any of the candidates, but one appears better than the other, so why waste their vote? We are going to use the power of the vote and the established system to send a message to the government that we want and demand real change. We are going to tell the government what changes to make, leaving it with little excuse for not knowing what to change and how to do it. The majority of the 50% who vote will now have an option other than the proposed same old candidates. But our intentions do not end there. We want all people of legal age who otherwise would not have registered to vote to register and vote. We realize that we will never be accepted by the current government, its laws, rules, and procedures for campaigning for office or establishing a new political party. We don't expect the current government to support something that threatens its power and value, but we do expect to be given our current constitutional right to cast our vote. We want all people everywhere who are of the legal age to register to vote and use the write-in option and write anonymous instead of voting for any of the candidates listed and registered for office. If, by the voice of the people, anonymous receives more votes than any other candidate, or even if anonymous receives a relative good showing at the voting booth, the Humanity Party will then legally register as a lawful political party according to current laws and election regulations. We will find and support viable candidates for our party's nomination during the presidential elections of 2020. If you are poor, if you are hopeless, if you are frustrated with our current government, if you feel like you have no voice, you are one of us. Join us today in making a change and having our voices heard for the first time in history. We have the power. Social media provides us the ability to spread our message throughout the world. If a South Korean hipster can shake his body to a catchy tune and get over 3 billion hits on YouTube, then why can't this important video do the same or even more? Share our message on all venues of social media. Get your friends, your relatives, anyone who does not vote and who believes that their vote is useless. Have them go to our website, Find out more about our proposals by reading the Humanity Party's political platform and reading and studying our new constitutional proposals. Our website, voteanonymous2016.com, will provide you with a list of locations where you can go in your particular state to register to vote. We have 1 year to join together and prepare our voices to be heard at voting booths across America. Make your own Vote Anonymous 2016 posters, t-shirts, bumper stickers, signs, and advertise voteanonymous2016.com wherever you go and with whomever you speak. We can do this. If we don't at least try, we have nothing else to complain about or about which to protest. Beware of a great opposition which will rise against us, that will form if we are successful at uniting the people to this great cause. There will be lies published, fear spread, ignorance perpetuated by those who want to fight change. And there will be those who believe that they're patriotic and true Americans who want to protect their Constitution. But do not let the naysayers and opponents of this movement dissuade you from sending a message to our government that we demand change. It is possible that if this movement gains momentum, that the government powers will eliminate the write-in option at the voting booths. If this happens, take a post-it note, write anonymous on it, and leave it in the voting booth. If our message, Vote Anonymous, can spread throughout America, it will inevitably spread throughout the earth. And one day, this world might become one people, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.